Hi friends, thank you so much for being here. Today's video, I'm going to be sharing my thoughts on the Ethereal Eyes palette, which was brought back for this year. I'm also going to be comparing Ethereal Eyes to a newer palette. I featured this in my last video. If you haven't seen it, I will leave a card right here, the Natasha Denona I Need a Nude palette. If you want to know my thoughts and see both of these palettes compared with each other on my eyes, then let's go. I want to go ahead and get swatch comparisons out of the way so you guys can see just how close some of these shades are. In my opinion, these two palettes are more different than they are alike. Different both in undertones of shades and depths of shades. Straight up just the colors don't match, and textures are completely different from one another. The first comparison I'm going to make is one of the closest matches, but honestly, there are no spot-on dupes between these two. There are just colors that are similar, especially when you put them on the eyes. They do end up looking the same, but they're not exactly the same. Starting off with this pinky shade right here, this is EE7 in Makeup by Mario, compared to in Natasha Denona, this pinky color called Beige. So this one right here, this is going to be EE7 from Makeup by Mario, and then Natasha Denona, Beige. Next comparison I want to make is this grayish shade. This is EE5 from Makeup by Mario. And then in Natasha Denona, we have two similar grayish tones. We have this lighter gray called Mesh, and then Stone. This one right here, this is the EE5 from Makeup by Mario. Then in the middle, we have Stone from Natasha Denona. I would say out of the three, these two, Stone versus EE5 from Mario, are the most similar, and then this lighter one is Mesh. Then I'm going to be doing some comparisons to this really pretty metallic taupey kind of color. This one is EE11. So this one is the E11 from Makeup by Mario. Then next we have Delilah. This one right here, this is more of a satin rather than a metallic or a topper shade. And this one is Travertine. And then this one is my favorite, this really sparkly metallic. This one is Muse. As you can see, they're all kind of taupey browns with lots of sparkle and shimmer, but none of them are exactly like this one, the Makeup by Mario EE11. I also took out one of my favorite eyeshadows of all time. This is the ColourPop Super Shock Single Shadow in the shade Ritz. It is beautiful, magical, ethereal eyes in a pot. I compared it to Muse by Natasha Denona. They're basically the same. This one is Ritz, and then this one is Muse from Natasha Denona. Now ColourPop, it's a drier formula and it's not as smooth. This one, Muse, is very smooth in terms of how the sparkle lays across the skin. It's very even. Meanwhile, right here, this is more of like a sparkly, like toppery kind of vibe, but the shades are really, really similar to each other. Honestly, those are the closest color matches that I could find. Like even this EE1, even the highlight shade in Makeup by Mario, this one is pretty yellowy in tone. And then if you look at the lightest shade in I Need a Nude, this one is called Fair. So on the top is Fair, and then Makeup by Mario is on the bottom. So this one does have more of a pinky neutral undertone, and then Makeup by Mario is more yellowy, kind of banana-y kind of color. And of course on the eyes, it probably doesn't make much of a difference, but I really want to show how these colors do have variations in undertones between the palettes and with the shimmer kind of textures. So in Makeup by Mario, we have this vertical row. These are like toppery, shimmer, scattered kind of sparkly looks. And then we have this one and this like bronzy brown color that are true metallics. But as far as this shimmery row, the textures of those toppery shades in Makeup by Mario are completely different than the textures that you can find in I Need a Nude. If we're gonna compare formula, I do like how Makeup by Mario's mattes perform more. These ones are easier to pick up in the pan. They're softer pressed. So it's just easier and quicker to get pigmentation right off the bat. Meanwhile, with I Need a Nude, I find that these mattes are harder pressed. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. It just means that I have to go in more times and they come across as more buildable rather than getting full pigmentation right off the bat. I really love the toppery shades in Makeup by Mario. I will say these ones have less of a base pigment, which means when I swatch them, they just look like true sparkle shimmer on the skin. You can't really see any like brown or black underneath, any kind of base pigment underneath the sparkle. Meanwhile, in Natasha Denona, almost all of the shimmery metallic shades, they do have a clear base. So when you turn your hand or when you turn your eyes, you can see that there's a brown / cooler gray kind of base to them. Makeup by Mario is supposedly limited edition. I mean, he brought it back, so who really knows how limited this palette is. This one retails for $68 and you get 12 shades. Natasha Denona I Need a Nude is a permanent palette in her line and it comes with 15 shades and this one is $69. So you do get more bang for your buck when it comes to Natasha Denona compared to Makeup by Mario. Both of the packaging is really nice. Of course, Natasha Denona wins with the packaging. It just looks more luxe. This one, if you have other Makeup by Mario palettes, they're all gonna look the same. So it might get lost in your collection if that's what you have. And they both have a magnetic closure to the packaging, which is really nice and luxe. Onto the look. So I'm going to do Makeup by Mario shades on this eye, Natasha Denona I Need a Nude on this eye, and I'm going to be using all those shades that we were comparing to see how similar of a look can we get with both of these palettes. Starting off with Makeup by Mario, I'm going to take that EE7, this pinky color, all over the crease. And you might be able to tell a little bit, Makeup by Mario has more kickback with the mattes. There's more powder that comes up when you dip your brush in. Meanwhile, Natasha Denona, because it is harder pressed, you don't get any kind of kickback at all when you dip into those mattes. Now I'm grabbing a clean brush and we're gonna go into its sister in I Need a Nude, this pinky color called Vague. I find that Natasha's mattes want to stick more than Makeup by Mario. Makeup by Mario, they diffuse almost instantly as soon as you start moving your brush on the skin. Meanwhile, Natasha Denona, when you place your brush down, it sticks to that corner. And that's not a bad thing. They're not patchy at all, but just want to note the differences in formula and application. So far, we're looking basically the same. Like, if someone put this on my eyes and asked me which palette was on which side, I literally would not be able to tell you. I'm grabbing a more narrow blender brush and we're gonna go into EE5, which is this gray color in Makeup by Mario. I'm taking a clean brush and now we're gonna go into Stone. So after adding those two gray shades, I will say on the Natasha Denona side, I'm liking how her mattes build and blend with each other. On Makeup by Mario, it's not blending as seamlessly together. I'm still happy with how it looks, but this EE5 shade, when I put it on top of the pinky EE7, it didn't want to blend fully, especially in the inner corner. It's kind of looking almost patchy or like a little bit dry on this inner corner. I'm going to take this taupey metallic from Makeup by Mario. This is EE11. Now I don't have a spot on color match for that taupey metallic in Natasha Denona I Need a Nude, so I'm just gonna try some things out. First, I'm gonna go in with this Delilah shade. So that Delilah shade is a little bit deeper. It has more of a present brown pigment underneath of the shimmer, so it has more of a brown base, Well, this one is purely taupe. It's very neutral. To even the eyes out, I'm gonna go into Makeup by Mario and take this really beautiful taupery shade. This is my favorite in the palette. This is EE6. So I'm gonna take some of that and just put it right in the center. And I'm also gonna put it on the Natasha side. And to finish off the eyes, I'm going to take the lightest matte. This is EE1, Makeup by Mario side, and I'm going to highlight my brow bone. Pick up I Need a Nude, and we're gonna go into that lightest matte color in Fair on Natasha's side and go into highlight the brow bone. Okay, I added some eyeliner. These eyes basically look the same. If I used any of the other mattes, like these browns, the looks would have been completely different because, especially on my skin tone, Natasha Denona does show up pretty cool toned on me. But I'm gonna go ahead and put the rest of my face on and we'll finish the eyes when I get back. I am back, full face on. If you want to know anything else that I'm wearing on my face, I always leave the products listed in the description box down below. For the lower lash line, I'm going to start off with EE7 right here. And I'm taking an e.l.f. flat eyeliner brush. I want the lower lash line to be very subtle. So I'm just going to put that as close to the lash line as possible. Then taking Vague on that same brush on the Natasha Denona side, and we're gonna do the exact same thing. Back into Makeup by Mario, we're gonna take EE5 on the same brush. And I'm gonna focus this more so on that outer corner. In Natasha Denona, I'm gonna take Stone. Then I'm taking an LBE6, this is from Huda Beauty, and I'm going to take EE1, the lightest matte. And I'm gonna go underneath the work that we just did and lightly buff so there's no demarcation. Then taking the lightest matte in Natasha Denona on this side and doing the same thing, just going right underneath. Taking my e.l.f. mascara on the lower lash line. I've been really liking this, you guys. I've worn it every single day since I did my last video. And this is the final look. Final thoughts on the Ethereal Eyes palette. I rate this a 9 out of 10. It would be more like a 9.5, 10 out of 10 if it wasn't so expensive. I don't really think this is worth $68. I just can't justify spending $68 when we only get 12 shades, especially compared to like a Huda Beauty palette where you get way more shades for the money. But for what it is, I love this palette. It's a great everyday palette. These toppery shimmers are the textures that I'm most into right now. I'm definitely glad that I purchased it, but the Sephora savings event is coming up soon. In my last video, I did do a review of Natasha Denona, so if you want to know what I rated this palette and all of my thoughts, then go watch that video. This might be a hot take, but I feel like most people think that these are basically the same, and as you can tell, you can get basically the same look using certain shades, but I just think these two palettes cannot be compared to each other. Of course, they're both neutrals, so they both create neutral looks, and they both have mattes and shimmers, but the textures are completely different. The colors are also pretty different between the two. I do think Makeup by Mario is more brown girl friendly, and if you're someone like me that just prefers brown mattes, brown colors, warm browns, because it suits my skin tone more, then I would say go for Makeup by Mario. If you like scattered kind of shimmers or shimmers that don't really have a base pigment, that are just pure sparkle, go for Makeup by Mario. You do get 3 extra shades in Natasha Denona I Need a Nude, but I would not say that this is the most brown girl friendly. If you're much darker than me, they're going to look pretty gray and washed out on you. Natasha Denona does offer more variety. I feel like Natasha Denona is way more fun to play with, but if you don't like this color story, then I would go for Makeup by Mario. Let me know what you guys think about these two palettes, about the comparisons. Which one do you like more? Do you own these palettes? What do you think? Let me know, and like, comment, subscribe. You already know the drill. I'm sending you guys so much love and light, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!